What is going on, you guys? In today's episode, it's just going to be me more riffing on something. So let me know if you like this type of format, but it's something that's more top of mind. And it's why entrepreneurs quit. The reason that I'm making this is because over the past 5 years, I've been more and more exposed to more and more entrepreneurs. I see every single week, I see people who want to get in the game of flipping houses. And over the last 4 to 5 years, I've seen a lot of them fizzle out and quit. And also, just because I now run a business, it may be one of those like blue car effects. If you have a blue car, you start to see a lot of other blue cars. But I seem to converse and interact with a lot more entrepreneurs these days because I am one. If you are new here, I run a real estate business. I did 7 figures last year. And I make this stuff to both crystallize my own learnings as well as help you. I think the reason why people quit entrepreneurship is actually quite a simple concept. Entrepreneurship is very difficult to execute on, but the reason why people give up, in my mind, is simple. And I think it has everything to do with why people start in the first place. And I do think there's a small percentage of people who start for one reason and then learn everything that I'm about to tell you, and then so they keep going. But most people, I don't think, fall into that category. I think most people just fall into the category they quit because of the reason that they started. The first reason I think people quit is because when they start, they fundamentally believe that they are starting something new that they're going to enjoy doing more than the thing that they're currently doing. And so if someone was a W-2 employee and they start a business, the reason why that doesn't last is because they think they're going to enjoy being a business owner more than they enjoy being a W-2 employee. And I think there's lots of different nuances for that. So maybe the person might be thinking, well, how hard can this be? I can probably make at least as much as I'm currently making in my current job. And I like that topic better, so that means I will enjoy it more, and therefore I will just go and do that thing. The problem with that train of thought is when you start a business, you find out no matter how much the thing you enjoy doing, you find out that it's very difficult. And I think the reason why people enjoy doing things is because they're good at them. And that gets into the whole find your passion type of argument, which I don't really fundamentally believe in. And just to, side note on that real quick, I think people are passionate about things that they're good at. And anything that you start in the beginning, you are not good at. And so the whole notion of go find your passion, you find your passion by doing things that you are not good at first, which means it is not your passion in the beginning. Your passion comes from doing something over and over and over so much that you get good at it. And so people jump into, hey, I'm going to start a business in this thing because I think I will enjoy it, and then realize it's difficult. And then because it's difficult, they don't enjoy it. And so in their mind, well, the reason why I started this was because I was going to enjoy it more. Those conditions have fundamentally changed, and therefore I will revert back to something that I enjoy more than the pain and suffering I'm going through right now. And if you run a successful business, you will go through pain and suffering. It is inevitable. And so hopefully, if you're listening to this and you have not started a business and you are thinking about starting one and you think that you might quit if you go through pain and suffering, well, let me just save you the time and maybe just don't start a business. And so that's fundamental reason number one why I think people quit. Fundamental reason number two is because they do it to make money. And again, following the same logic, I want to start a business because I want to make money. The problem is when you start that business, then you realize it's difficult. And because it's difficult, you are not making money. And so you get into it. And again, you say to yourself, well, the reason I started this was to make money. Those conditions are not happening. And therefore I will revert back to what I was making money with before. And I think this one is more common than the first because, scenario one, as you're a W-2 employee, you're making money, you're, quote, not happy. And so you switch to being an entrepreneur so you can, quote, make money, but then you realize you suck at that thing and you are not making the money that you can make elsewhere. And so it's very logical to say, well, why would I continue doing something where I am making less money? Why don't I just revert back to what I was doing prior, even if it eats at my soul, right? Because then you get into all of the fundamental side notes on financial management, and we get golden handcuffs because we buy a house that is too expensive, and we essentially have this lifestyle. A house is just one example, a car, whatever the thing may be, but we end up having a lifestyle, and now this lifestyle, and we choose to pivot, but when we pivot, it doesn't cover the expenses of this lifestyle. And so the decision is to either change the lifestyle or revert back to something that will make enough money to afford the lifestyle. And that's the fundamental cycle that happens. This is also why I think many people who teach business or have been in business for a long time encourage you to adapt a lifestyle that is very low in expenses. Because then if you get into starting a business, as I've talked about before on this channel, typically the only thing that separates successful business owners and not successful are the amount of time that they're willing to endure pain and suffering. And so if your expenses are really low, then you can endure pain and suffering for a very long time because you really don't have anything to lose. You don't have some big status type of lifestyle that you are going to have to draw back on or essentially change your lifestyle drastically. And so if you start really small, it means that you're going to be able to endure for a longer period. And so no matter what, if you start a business, you are going to be better off if your expenses are significantly lower than if you start a business where you live some sort of status type of lifestyle. Because again, if things get difficult and you have to change that lifestyle, most people will not sacrifice the lifestyle that they have built over the last 5 to 10 years. They will just continue on that lifestyle. And if the new business venture that they start does not fund that lifestyle, then they will just revert back. And because of how difficult it is to make money as a business owner, most commonly what happens is people will just revert back to what they know how to make money with. And so either way, I believe that if you choose to start a business to make money, you're fundamentally setting yourself up for success because it takes so long to do that when that doesn't happen, it's going to be very easy for you to revert back to something that you know how to make money with. So how do we solve for this? What's the solution? How do entrepreneurs not quit? Well, I will just share what has worked for me. And I don't know, I'm sure there might be other reasons or other ways that other methods people use to push through hardship, which entrepreneurship is. But what has worked very well for me is having the true fundamental belief that entrepreneurship is the best personal development program out there. Therefore, if the reason I start a business is to maximize the human being that I have the potential to become, then there is nothing that can happen in business that will cause me to quit. Because what better way is there to get feedback to become better than creating a product or creating a service and putting it out to the marketplace and then getting feedback from the marketplace? And here's the thing, this works at scale, because if you're in the beginning and your product or your service is brand new, then you are going to get instant feedback from the marketplace as you put yourself out there. And even as you grow, typically a limitation of growth can be your ability to influence other people, which is either sales or leadership or both. And let's take leadership, for example. Leadership is a extremely difficult skill to learn that is really a subset of about 1,000 other skills. And because it's difficult, leadership alone will be the ceiling of where a lot of people are able to take their business. And again, if their desired outcome is not personal growth, then that ceiling will stay there, and it will be the reason why people quit, because they can't get past a certain level. And you will not get past a certain level in entrepreneurship if you are a poor leader and you refuse to work on that skill. But if the only reason that you are in business is to be better than the person you were yesterday, number one, what is going to naturally occur from the result of a relentless desire to improve is you are going to make money. And so that problem will be solved. It is not a matter of if, it is simply a matter of when. And as long as your focus is on improvement, then when you put something out to the marketplace and you get feedback and you make it better and you repeat that process until you make it so good that people buy it again, well, you've solved the problem of making money. But I don't know that I see many entrepreneurs getting into being a business owner for the reason of wanting to maximize who they have the ability to become in the future. It's more about something fast. I want to make money quick. I am not happy in my current thing, therefore I will be more happy in this other thing. And then they realize that those things won't be true, and so they quit. And so I would strongly encourage you, if you are getting into any sort of new business venture, if you are even thinking about starting a business, don't start a business because you think you will like it more than what you are currently doing. Don't start a business because you think you will make the same amount of money. And if you're making the same amount of money doing this thing, it means you will be happier. None of those things are likely to actually be true. But what will undoubtedly carry you through the pain and suffering that you will inevitably endure when you start a business is your relentless desire to improve as a human being. Because there is nothing better, I have found, to improve me as a human than the pain and suffering that I have endured as a result of being an entrepreneur. And I think luck plays a big role as well. For example, I decided to start my entrepreneurial career in real estate. And since I started in the middle of COVID, and since COVID, real estate has been a declining market. So I have started a business in a declining market. Now, granted, my business has at least doubled or near doubled every single year since I've been in business, but it has still been extremely difficult. I've taken significant losses, which if you've been a part of this channel, you know about them. And losses in real estate aren't as enjoyable as the wins. The alternative, if someone started their entrepreneurial career and let's say they had a background in software and they got into AI, well, that is a very rapidly increasing market. And so if someone was a phenomenal coder and they got into some sort of AI, they probably have a higher likelihood of being a successful entrepreneur than I do in real estate right now. But the fundamental truth remains that if your primary desired outcome is to maximize the potential of who you have the ability to become, then business becomes a game that doesn't have a finite outcome. It becomes an infinite game. And Simon Sinek talks about this, finite versus infinite games. A finite game is a game that is played over a certain period of time, that has winners and losers, that has defined rules, and if you don't follow those rules, yada yada. Business is an infinite game because the purpose of business is not to win, it's to stay in business. And part of the way, or a large influencer of the way that you stay in business is that you have the right expectations of business when you get into it. And that's why, again, so many people quit, is because they set this expectation that I will like this more, I will enjoy it more, I will do this to make money. Those expectations aren't met. Therefore, they believe the conditions have changed, and so they quit. Now, do I think that there are other ways that you can start a business and not quit? Yeah, I think there are some good examples out there. Like if your mission is big enough, then I think that alone can help you endure the pain and suffering that is required. For example, Elon's mission with SpaceX is to go to Mars. Well, that's a pretty friggin' big mission, and not just to go there, but to establish it as another planet that we can live on and consume resources. that mission is out there, right? And whether or not that mission is achieved will keep him going. And I think there are plenty of other examples. This example of starting the business with the desire to simply maximize the potential of who you can become, I think just fits into all of those categories. And so if you don't have this big audacious mission, then I think this is something that can work for you. But you truly have to believe, I guess, one, that it is fundamentally the best way to be the best version of yourself. And two, just commit to that and know that you will suck in the beginning. And the beginning might be the first 5 years, but you will not suck forever. So I was thinking about this a lot lately because, again, every single week I get exposure to new entrepreneurs. And I think I just get saddened by observing over and over and over people getting into entrepreneurship for the wrong reason, and therefore they end up quitting. And it could save them so much time and so much heartache if they understand those principles in the beginning. Or, like me, I will close this out with this. When I first started when I first started a business and became an entrepreneur and shifted away from a very secure Fortune 30 job, I did not start it with the reason of, oh, this is the best path to personal development. Now, what was very helpful is I was already very passionate about personal development. It was something that I very much enjoyed, so I think that helped. But I very quickly learned in entrepreneurship that that's what this game is. And then that is the feeling that I fell in love with. And I think that is the reason that kept me going. So I said in the beginning, you can either start with the reason of becoming the best version of yourself, or you can start for another reason and then jump into, oh, okay, that's why I'm really in it. That's what happened to me. I think that happens with a lot fewer people. And I say that purely objectively because there are more people who quit than stay in it. And so maybe there are other entrepreneurs who have stuck with it who fall into that category. But I'm purely speaking to you if you're listening to this and you're early or you have not started a business yet. I think had I understood this from the beginning, then it could have helped guide me to be a better entrepreneur from the beginning. Maybe take things a little bit more slowly. I think I would have taken less losses in the beginning if I was okay with going slow, because again, the purpose would be to learn. So I hope you got some value out of that. If there's someone who you think would benefit from hearing this message, send it to them. And if not, that's cool too. Hopefully you got something out of listening to it. But I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.